Hey guys, Daniel Master 87 here, and today we who play Killer have had to wake up to these just abysmal killer changes. Like, this may be the worst freaking, Doomsday update that Killers have ever gotten. It is literally the worst freaking update that Killers have ever gotten. Because this is the Phase 2 that True Talent's been warning about. With the anti-slugging and anti-tunnel stuff coming, and so much more. And I haven't read the full patch notes. There's stuff that would just blow my freaking mind still in there after all of this that I've seen. But let's just go down the list and I'll kind of give you my thoughts as we're going through it. So what they did with slugging is if a survivor gets left on the ground for a total of 90 seconds during the match, then they basically get the ability to pick themselves up. They get a base freaking unbreakable, which we said was a terrible idea. Didn't want it brought to the game, but they're like, oh, well, we made it impossible for Killer to win in other ways, so we'll just get rid of this way as well for pressure, even though it's very much dependent on survivors screwing up like over and over again, like having the whole freaking team down in like a minute. Like, how does that crap even happen? But no, even in those scenarios, the survivors just deserve to get a second chance out of it. And also, they're adding a tenacity base. Like, the recovery meter's just going to go up automatically. You don't even have to press the button, and you can crawl at the same time. And then you just press the button to pick yourself up. So, especially with survivor friends, survivors can just leave themselves on the ground, not have to pick each other up, because they're just going to get up anyway. And yeah, you can theoretically still bleed people out, but come on. It was weak enough already that that would almost never freaking happen. You have to have like a whole build or like a super specific killer dedicated to slugging people if that's your game plan. And we'll read the dev notes after each one. When it comes to slugging, we know it can be frustrating if you're on the other receiving end of it too often or for too long, but we also know that sometimes it's a smart move, you think? This updated system acknowledges this, allowing the killer to slug occasionally when they feel it's the right call, but it'll eventually kick in and swing in the survivor's favor if slugging is used excessively. Dude, it's the killer's freaking win condition. You made it impossible to go into your average match, which we know is now like way more percent swoof most of the time, which we were lied to for freaking years. Hooking does not get you anything, and I've been saying it for years. You only get benefit on freaking slowing down survivors once one survivor is dead, because they can no longer do gens and escape. That is the end of the threat, and Killer's trying to find other ways around that crap. They just shoot it down every time. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. You can't slug anymore. They make it seem like you still can, but it's dead. Trust me. A big part of this is also about making the experience of being slugged more pleasant. They don't even hide it. As much as being slugged can be, at least. The recovery changes in crawling speed will give you a bit more agency when down, so you aren't just holding a button waiting for someone to come save you. That's what they're supposed to freaking do because they're down. They screwed up. They're incapacitated because the killer got them. Now they need their teammates to come and pick them up. I don't understand why they want survivors to be a one-man freaking army that doesn't even have to rely on teamwork at this point. I seriously can 1v1 the killer. Like, almost. Tunneling reduction update. So they freaking killed tunneling a while back, essentially, even though we still try to go for it anyway, with the base BT, the base haste, just perks for freaking free. But now they're adding, when a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer, so more information hiding from the freaking killer player, because they don't deserve info. They're the freaking killer. It's not like there's a player behind that screen who deserves some freaking agency in their gameplay, since they like to use that term. So you're not going to be able to see their hook meter anymore. You have no clue how close they are to being freaking dead. Like, they have there's 7 8 second hook states, but if they randomly have that Steve perk for some reason, camaraderie, you have no freaking clue it's kicked in because you won't see that meter anymore, which is retarded. And they say that it's that on top of that, there's no notification when the killer. There's no information on the killer side when the freaking survivor gets unhooked. So they're just on the hook, they're on the hook, and then when they get unhooked, you don't hear the or the UI change immediately. You just have to guess when the heck that happens, or it'll eventually change the symbol to say, hey, this person's not hooked anymore. It's freaking stupid. You're just taking so much away from killer, they don't know what the heck's going on in their match. And they say to alleviate adding that in, it's disabled once the generators are completed. It doesn't freaking matter at that point because 4 survivors are probably still alive and they just get the free freaking save and run out. You don't need to deny the killer of all this freaking information, man. And so when survivors get unhooked additionally, they get the haste, they get the endurance, and now they get this new status effect, elusive, which is like iron will, distortion, and freaking scratch mark hiding all boiled into one. It is so freaking overpowered that they're going to introduce that as a base effect, and then further down the line they say they're going to add like a bunch of perks that have that effect. So survivors, what used to be like 2 or 3 perks to put a build together, they're now just going to get that crap for free. Might not even bother with those new perks that they come out that bring elusive, because they already freaking get it. 10 whole seconds, but it adds up. Also, when they get unhooked, no collision with other players, at least we get that. But that doesn't mean that they can just run through their teammates' freaking bodies to get through an exit. So even if their team screws up and would totally like sandbag them on accident and give you that extra kill that you probably deserve anyway, no, that can't even happen anymore either. So it's a two-way street. Immunity to killer instinct, and they get to see the killer's aura for free. So for some reason, against the killers like Legion, like I forget who else has it. Anyway, they're immune to killer instinct, and they just get to see your aura for freaking free, which I believe is what Breakdown and one other perk does. They don't need that crap. The killer's either going to be on the other side of the map where they don't have to worry about it, or he's going to be right next to them because he's trying and probably failing due to these changes to get a tunnel off on you. It's just stupid. And they did add something to the killer UI freaking finally, that it shows the last person that you hooked, but they're only doing that now because you're gonna get Omega freaking punished for hooking the same person twice, and I'll get to that. But really, what is the freaking deal in not giving killers access to the same information as survivors? Like they have, from the survivor point of view, you get to see all of your freaking teammates and your own hook states. So you know, oh, that person's about to be dead, I need to go and body block for them, or I'm on my last hook, I need to be freaking careful. Or, I haven't been hooked at all, I'll just hook trade and it doesn't even matter. Because it's more time on our part than the freaking killer. But, I don't know where I was going with that, but with unique hooks, so they're taking True Talent's idea and terminology he was using all this time. For each unique hook, you're going to get bonus damage on the next generator kick. It needs to be like pop goes the weasel freaking base. Like, come on. Temporary haste, so kind of like furtive chase base. And temporary survivor reveals, kind of like barbecue, that have less hook states or equal hook states to the person you just freaking hooked. So I don't know how they're gonna do the equal hook states. I guess they mean if someone is on their second hook, you're hooking them, you get to see everyone who's on their first or none. But then, I don't know why they bother specifying that. I'm confused there. Because you would think, isn't that just, would that be like, if you're hooking someone who has no hooks, you can only see people who have no hooks. So you're never going to be able to use it to not tunnel per se, but if you want to do the 1-2 juggle, like I always do, or try to do, they're just denying that information to you, I guess. So it's like every single positive change they do in this crap, man, it's not even making up for the fact that they're taking away crap from you, or it's like a half measure where like we'll give you this, but arbitrarily we'll suspend the benefit that you would otherwise get in this situation that would be bad for the survivors. The survivors have to be in a freaking bad situation at some point, bro. Like if they screw up and chase, or they've got to get down eventually, the killer is owed some ability to freaking down them, right? At some point. Why are you giving them the benefits out of that situation, even when it's their freaking fault sometimes? Every single time. And for some reason, they added the caveat that on killers like Ghoul, Blight, uh, Nurse, Hillbilly, and Dark Lord, which is Dracula, they're going to have less effects from all of that on the survivor. Less haste from the hook, less aura read time, I guess, from the hook. But I'm guessing that aura read is like 3 freaking seconds or something. And that haste, there's no way they're giving you that much. They'll give you like 5% or something. And this is a problem with their freaking balancing mentality, that they just keep making these like base changes that screw over killers in general or specific killers. What a great idea to primarily single out Blight and Nurse and killers like that have high mobility on this change that you're giving other killers, because your game is so screwed up at that point. That's basically what you need to give them for them to survive, although they won't survive after this. When you've already had a balancing mentality of, oh, we don't want one specific thing or another to counter specific killers. They got rid of sabotaging bear traps with the frickin' sabotage perk and toolboxes. They got rid of flashlights affecting Hag and Wraith in particular ways. So why the heck are they singling out Ghoul, the update before this, or a while back, where just doing a normal game thing, like breaking a pallet, takes away a token of his freaking power and puts it on cooldown? They're basically doing the same freaking thing here, but it's for Hillbilly and Blight and Nurse and all of them. Like, you need to have crap applied across the board. You can't... It sets a dangerous and terrible precedent for you to go in to a specific killer or set of killers and say that this perk or this mechanic is supposed to work like this normally, but we're taking it away because this killer is too overpowered. If the killer's too freaking overpowered, then, tweak them or nerf them or whatever, or make it to where your freaking matchmaking works. It's just too much, man. Like, come on. How hard are you going after these killers? The effects that benefit the killers from you getting unique hooks on people, of course, they deactivate after the last gen's done. You know those matches where the freaking match lasts, like half of it or more lasts after the last gen gets done? This is just one big screw you to people in those desperate situations. But when survivors are in a desperate situation out of their own faults, we gotta bail them out with the base mechanic or something. Speaking of which, if a survivor dies before 6 total hook states are achieved, all remaining survivors get a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial. Wow, that's pretty freaking fair, man. Not. And if a survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, generators cannot be regressed or blocked, which is freaking garbage, man. Like, it's not even a counter to tunneling used maliciously or whatever they want to call it. It's not hardcore tunneling that this is countering only, where you just go for one freaking person back to back. It's like, if you hook this dude 5 minutes or 10 minutes before, and then now that he's the smart one to go after, you go after him 2 hooks in a row. Oh, all of a sudden you can't regress generators anymore or block them with, gen blocking perks, which is what I just freaking said. Like, they're punishing killers for doing basic base game things that they have to do, like breaking pallets and, killing people. So what they're doing with this change is basically forcing you, no matter what the circumstances are, to freaking go for a different survivor every single hook, which is stupid. Like they've mentioned in this patch, the most optimal way for killers to play, we found out, is to tunnel, because they made all the other ways unviable. And now they're telling us, well, we don't want that. We're just going to force you to not tunnel anyway. It's stupid. It takes all freaking choice away from the killer and just shoehorns them down this path that is going to cause them to lose. You're playing to lose. Dev note, it's no secret that tunneling can be seen as an efficient way for killers to play. While this can be true, their wording on this is freaking awful. It's like an AI wrote it. It's also true that the results of this can be frustrating for survivors, because they're losing and we can't have that. Leading to trials ending too quickly for some, while leaving others to fend for themselves in a match that is now much more difficult. Again, survivors are not entitled to an easy match. You're saying that because someone was killed at one point or another, maybe through tunneling or maybe they just died normally, you're saying that the remaining survivors need additional incentives or stuff given to them for freaking free to overcome the killer. No, they can do that on their freaking own. The reason you don't see that crap in solo queue is because your matchmaking is screwed up, man. People who don't even do freaking generators, this is what these changes are meant for. They're meant for those people to be able to overcome good killers, even though they play like freaking trash. Which, just, if you go up the skill level with that, the survivor with friends teams and the ones who are really freaking good at this game, they just abuse the crap out of this. Like, it is so much stuff given to them for free, which they didn't even need anyway. They would go in perkless, screw around the whole match. It doesn't matter, we gave the killer 5 hooks max, and now we're all escaping anyway. The intention here is for both roles to feel benefits and incentives that come from spreading hook states, although it's mostly survivor, you have to frickin' admit. On the other end, survivors have better opportunities to evade and reset after unhooks, as they can use resurgence and will make it to heal in like 5 freaking seconds, man. Come on. While also limiting those tough situations where losing a survivor too quickly causes things to go south quickly and snowball, because killer is not allowed to snowball. On the other end, killers are able to apply more map pressure or push back against efficient teams covering ground, post-hook, and strengthening gen regression. No, man, it does not do that at freaking all. You're going to give them a slight benefit, that haste and that gen regression thing, that the numbers are going to be freaking generous for the survivors and puny for the killer. I don't see how that translates to having more map pressure and just, having such a huge swing in momentum, which was their mentality in 2v8, the freaking slow down, speed up thing, which we told them was a bad idea, and now, like I said, they're bringing it into the base game, which will be terrible for this game's health. This might actually kill the game. I'm not kidding. They talk about the elusive status effect, blah blah blah, lore, killer updates. They've changed Myers, which Rosie is looking forward to these changes, but I think this update to him might kill him. So he's got 2 modes now. Forget about the insta downs and the leveling up thing like you saw before. That's all getting thrown out the window. He has stalker mode, which is kind of like his tier 1 from before, where he's moving 105%, I think, and that allows him to stalk the survivors and have undetectable. So he can basically switch between tier 1 and what this is, tier 2 basically. 24 meter terror radius, 4.6 movement speed, which is 115. Increased vault speed, increased lunge range, increased break speed, stun recovery, and he cannot stalk survivors while in that mode. So it's going to take some getting used to for sure. Really, there's only 2 things that are really good about this Myers rework. It's that he gets the bonus lunge and stun recovery and stuff in tier 2 instead of in tier 3, although it's confusing, I know, because it's so different, but the same. He might be better in tier 2, quote unquote, now compared to what he was before, but they've taken away his ability to insta down, so that alone might just take him down a tier automatically. So you might be wondering, what's the point of stalking? Well, now stalking is building you up to an ability or a mode called Evil Incarnate, which can be triggered at will once your meter's full from stalking people. It gives you these bonuses. You're 115, which you freaking were already, so I don't know why they put that. 40 meter terror radius, so you get Weskers for free, although I think they've also given it to Blight and Hillbilly at this point because they move fast, and Ghoul. And they basically give him a dash attack, which, looking at the little play window they have, it just looks like a pig dash is basically how slow the charge up is, and the distance gained with the speed. I think it looks freaking trash. It's going to need way more than that. And, they came up with that term recently in this community that says that a killer is dash slop. Like, oh, we're going to make killers trash otherwise, except for these killers in these specific situations because they have a dash attack, which we've done like 10 times, but we're just going to keep doing them instead of coming up with something more unique. And people jump on them too hard for not having enough unique killer powers. There's so many different things you can do with killer powers in this game, but they do not need to make more freaking dash killers, and that's what they've done here. So that's what Myers will become now. Basically the same as a couple others, but probably worse. Just knowing this game. This ability can also be used to destroy pallets, so that's kind of nice. It's like, I don't know, like a chainsaw, where you can use it to injure down people. You can also use it to destroy pallets, and I'm assuming breakable walls. But yeah, I don't have much feeling for that Myers rework. I don't think it's going to be very good. They've also changed the mechanics of stalking. You're no longer limited to how much you can get from each person. You can only stalk from 32 meters away, which is bullcrap. I don't know why they always have to have a thing of him having short stalk range. And they removed the distance modifier. So it's not going to be more from close up or from far away or anything like that. And you can stalk while you're moving, but it reduces the amount of stalk that you get when you're moving, which is freaking stupid. By moving away from linear Evil Within tiers, we wanted to give players more tools they can use to adapt each trial's unique situations while keeping the core of what makes him the Shape. Slaughtering Strike makes for a high threat offensive attack, offering up a insta-down opportunity with an extended lunge that's particularly effective in loops and for ripping through pallets quickly. Okay, so I don't actually know if he still insta-downs or not. The example they showed, the survivor is freaking injured, and they did say at the top in parentheses, survivors no longer become exposed, but maybe it can still insta-down. They're super not clear with their freaking wording, man, and this is always a thing with them. Right, they sent an offensive attack, insta-down opportunity with an extended lunge, particularly effective in loops, and for ripping through pallets quickly. Even though it still can just be pallet break simulator, where even if you're instantly breaking them like Nemesis can, by the time you're freaking done with that chase and all the pallets have been dropped, oh, that's 5 gens done. Nothing mattered anyway. Understanding his kit changed quite a lot. We've done a pass on nearly all of his add-ons, which I'll be excited to look at actually. Reworking many of them to offer more unique effects. Freaking thank you. Why don't you bring back some of Blight's old unique add-on effects where he had like Blood Favor as an add-on and Overcharge or something as an add-on. Those are super freaking unique and you took them away. Why? In particular, for those who prefer his old playstyle, Fragrant Tuft of Hair will exchange Evil Incarnate to function like Old Myers, offering an exposed effect and no slaughtering strike. Stay tuned for patches for the full details on these changes! Exclamation point. So the Clown, they increased the activation time of the Afterpiece antidote. Why? This is what people have been saying from the freaking beginning of them adding this crap in. I mean, number one, it shouldn't give survivors the speed boost. That's just plainly obvious, and anyone who argues otherwise, I question if they've played Clown and how it's super freaking annoying for survivors to get a benefit of your power, bro. Like, is it that hard to understand? But they're increasing the activation time of the Afterpiece antidote, which is going to undo the buff that they gave him. Increased how long the Afterpiece tonic's hindered effect lingers after leaving the smoke, so they basically reversed the change that they did to him. So now, super speedy Clown is probably not going to be a thing anymore, and he'll just go back to relying on either just the purples or both in conjunction. We've heard your feedback from the Clown's easier to activate haste can make instigating and maintaining chases less interactive for survivors. They have all the freaking interaction, bro. What are you talking about? That, coupled with nerfs to his purple bottles, has pushed players towards this frustrating tactic. You mean using his power, like you intended us to? To make both bottles feel like viable options without being too oppressive, we've adjusted the values of most impactful qualities to strike a balance between pre-9.1 values and live values. That's a whole bunch of mouthful to say. We had no idea what we were doing when we made this change. Now we're segueing it back. And while this freaking Speedy Clown meta was short-lived, it wasn't as brainless as people said it was. Like, oh, you just throw the yellow bottles down and you're going super fast the whole time and downing survivors super fast and they can't do anything at loops. That is not at all what freaking happened, bro. And you would know that if you actually played the freaking killer against survivors who knew what they were doing. Like, seriously, people were saying he's stronger after they did that change. He felt borderline weaker because the purples were reduced to freaking nothing. You might as well have not used them. And the yellows, while they did make you go faster, they also made the survivors play safer. So they would just pre-drop every pallet. You're playing Pallet Break Simulator, and then all the gens are freaking done in like 5 minutes. Anyway, the Unknown. I didn't know they were making changes to him. What is this? This is the first time reaction. Increase the additional time added to weakened when injured by a UVX projectile. So it seems like it's going to be slightly longer to break him out by staring at him, which is a good change because it's not going to allow him to take 2 shots at you with his purple power. I don't think, because I can't see the numbers, before you freaking snap out of it. But there were some survivors where I don't know how the heck they did it, but you'd shoot your one purple at them, they'd get weakened, then you'd prepare to shoot your second shot, and somehow you're already broke out, and it's like, what? My freaking cooldown just came off cooldown. How am I not able to get the shot off on them in time? That's the whole point of this killer's power. And similar stuff happens with Artist, hitting them with the birds swarming them, and then they somehow get it off sometimes before you can even reasonably launch the birds. Increased movement speed, recovery after teleporting, freaking thank you, because he needed that crap base, whatever that add-on was called. I think blurry photo or something like that. He just needs that crap base because it feels so freaking bad to teleport with these insta-teleport killers like Dredge, like Hag, like Unknown, and not be able to freaking do anything. It's infuriating. Because you're just having to watch the survivors get away with crap when you should be able to hit them straight away. Increase the camera vertical range. Yes, this is definitely a good change. So on Unknown, it looks like they're actually cooking despite everything else. Because you would try to aim up as high as you can, and at the clip I'm looking at now, it looks like before you could only aim like half as high as freaking that, which was so limiting for him. They adjusted several add-ons, not going into specifics at this point, but their dev note says, the Unknown is largely considered to be fun to play as and against, and we want to preserve that while adapting to the current state of gameplay. We've buffed the UVX slightly, while also taking what we learned from the animatronic to allow for orbitals. Yeah, these devs are slow. Improving UVX aiming makes for even more fun gameplay. So now you can go for orbitals at the start with your his pink add-on that makes everyone start out weakened. You can do that more often, more consistently. It's also likely no surprise that blurry photo is the most used add-on for the Unknown, given the importance of speed recovery. To help create an opportunity for more add-on experimentation, we've converted a portion of this add-on into his base kit while also doing a pass on other add-ons that are due for some adjustments. So that didn't actually say that they changed the add-on. I'm assuming that they did this thing again where they made part of that add-on base. You're still locked into using it, but it doesn't freaking matter compared to before because the amount that you got base, they reduced that same amount from the add-ons effect, and so you basically made no ground. Which is a bad design philosophy, like, come on, if you can't see that at this point. Okay, they changed, oh crap. They changed a bunch of killers here. So the Dark Lord, which is Dracula, slightly reduced Hellfire cooldown, which is good, I think, if I'm reading that right. Yeah. Increased one of his pillars by 1, which is good. Reduced the charge movement speed, which, dude, you shouldn't be making these killers worse at all. Like, I don't care what tier you put them in, they're not as freaking good as you think to where they should get a nerf for every single time you buff them. Because, like with Huntress and other killers that rely on their ranged abilities and stuff, you have to do a thing at tiles like Shack where the survivor is going to bait you to use your power on the window, right? If you can visualize the tile with me as you're running it. So you're still holding your ranged ability, you move over to the window so you can block it, and then they go over to the pallet and bait that they're going to go through the pallet, and at that point you just cancel your power and hit them as they're in the middle or as they're running around the gym if it spawned there that time. That's the freaking skillful mind game that the killer can do to counter the survivor's mind games, and they're just kind of taking that away from him with this change. Slightly increased slowdown time after casting Hellfire. So we can't have killers be good, we have to give them a massive slowdown after they use their abilities, because we want to punish them extra for their already punish of not getting their hit on the survivor. Wolf form, increased pounce attack charge time. Really? Really? Increased the scent orb spawn time as well. I'm not sure if that's a buff or a nerf. Again, terrible wording by them. If that means that the scent orb is going to last longer, or if it's going to take longer to spawn in between, because if it's the latter, then it's weaker. If it's the first, then it's stronger. Bat form increased the movement friction to make flying easier to control. Increase the movement friction. What the heck does that even mean? Because I've had it where I'm controlling the bat and I'm bumping into obstacles and all this crap, and it's like I can't make them go where you think you can fly them over to go. So I don't know what they're really doing with the bat form, but the rest of these changes, woof, that's freaking bad. Dev note, vampire form is slightly less oppressive in short loops where movement slowdown has less of an impact, and toning down wolf form's mobility, which has been outclassing some dash killers. No, it freaking does not. Come on. On the flip side, you'll find bat form easier to control in tighter spaces and can use Hellfire slightly more frequently and reach further with it. Yeah, but you freaking made it more punishing. You're basically limiting it to when a survivor is just going down a straight hallway with no room to dodge. I hate when they do this to freaking killers' range powers, man. And they have the medium update, minor update, blah blah blah, tweak thing under each of these killer changes. Really, it's in the eye of the beholder, because they called that a freaking medium update. No, that's huge. That's going to make him way weaker. But now we move on to the ghoul. When grabbing a survivor on the other side of a vault with the leap, the survivor is released at the start of the ghoul's vault instead of at the end. So I'm mixed about this. The ghoul is one of the killers that I'm the most mixed on when looking at playing as him versus playing against him. There's been some moments where I'm playing Survivor and he attaches to me and leaps across the pallet or wherever to me, and I'm super freaking slow down, if not locked in freaking place when he does that, and that's unfair when that crap happens, because it's just a guaranteed down, almost. But for some reason I haven't been getting that when playing as him. Like, they're on the other side of the pallet, they drop it, I tentacle across to them, and they never get freaking held in place for me, or they get slowed down a little, but they're always able to make it back around to the pallet, man, from the other side of the loop. So I don't know if this change is good or bad. Probably bad, since it's going to take something away from the killer. Dev note, it's no secret that it's been a common pain point for survivors to be locked in place when hit with a blah 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 leap, grab, attack across the vault. Survivors shouldn't have to wait for the ghoul to finish their vault before being able to move again, so we're removing this tech. Well, I'm one for not being locked into place in freaking games. I hate that crap, but just the wording of that, it's like, you think that killers feel so entitled to stuff that they get when they really don't. Like, they're adding a negative character to the killer every single patch note that they put, and adding a positive character trait to every time they mention Survivor. It's crazy. The Oni, hooking a survivor now spawns more blood orbs. Oni's another killer I really don't like. I don't rate him because he's so polarizing. Because sometimes it's like you can just deny him those early blood orbs, and then he can't get anything going and he just loses that match. And then other times it's like master PC player gets a lucky hit at the start, and his power for the rest of the match is to down someone every like 20 seconds, because he breaks into any possible angle you can try and dead angle him from, because of bullcrap PC flicks, which they need to fix for him and for Blight, and stop nerfing stuff for console killers. Because console killers like myself can't use those techs to just get people everywhere. It sends those killers down from like S tier to freaking C or D tier. I swear to God it does. And maybe I'll elaborate on that point if anyone asks, or maybe in a later video, I don't know. Dev note, we understand that the changes we're making to address slugging, this will impact the Oni slightly, so we want to mitigate this. What the crap did I just read? I guess they're saying because Oni, especially when he came out, his game plan was a slugging killer. He's gonna down one, and then down another, and then maybe another, and he's gonna start hooking his slugs, or going back to them as they're being picked up. By turning hook survivors into a greater source of power gauge buildup, actually giving him more blood orbs per hook, rewarding him for the hooks, the Oni is rewarded with more quickly snowballing power by hooking, they say. And then they have various perks being updated, but they will not divulge specifics at this time. So we kind of got off track with those different killer changes at the end there, but the biggest update of all is all the crap they mentioned at the beginning, Survivors getting that new status, elusive, for freaking free, just for messing up and getting hooked and unhooked. Especially the slugging update. Like, you are not going to be able to slug for pressure anymore, even though they say that you can. You can't. Because you're going to start giving survivors unbreakable for freaking free, and you just cannot survive that. Like, that is super freaking abusable by Survivor with Friends. You have no idea. They will literally just let their teammates stay on the ground and pick themselves up so that they can rush gens even freaking harder than they are now. Because there's no teamwork included at that point with that interaction. If survivors in solo queue consistently played freaking good, Killer would be getting freaking rocked like every single match. Like, he would not win one freaking match. But at that point, man, it's almost there. Like, their whole balancing concept is ignoring the Survivor with Friends and all the crazy crap they can do. Like, seriously 1v1ing the killer and crap, while their teammates rush gens and if you'd attached to one of their teammates because you're like, this guy's too tough to chase, I can't get him. And then their teammate turns out to be just as tough. It's going against 4 one-man freaking armies. You can't win the 1v1. They're making it to where they're crossing the bridge or closing the gap between Survivor with Friends and solo to where they're playing at almost the same freaking level. Like, how hard it is to overcome them as killer. So all those Survivor matches that you were going against as killer, where it's like an impossible to beat freaking Survivor with Friends, you get 2-3 hooks before end of the game even happens. Those are going to be coming to your solo queue matches real soon, because MMR hell is still a thing. They need to fix the freaking matchmaking because it's obscuring the results of this freaking game and the data. I don't know if killers still have a 60% win rate. That's way too high. That means they're doing really good, right? They're probably not, because your stats are skewed either way. And even those skewed stats would be... Like, the devs don't do data in this game well at all. They don't do MMR well either. And so neither of their other problems, which is killer being too weak and survivors and solo queue getting screwed over by bad teammates all the time, they're not fixing either of those problems. They're just doing band-aid fix after band-aid fix after band-aid fix. That's what this update freaking is. Alright, that's all I got to say on this for now. Hope to do some more discussion videos soon. This is Daniel Master 87 signing out.